What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Campus Cuts. Today, I'm your host, Tanaka Tava, and today I have a incredible, very talented special guest. He currently works for the NBA Hope Champions, Milwaukee Bucks. He is a Baylor University, two-time Baylor University graduate, both with a bachelor's and an MBA. He is a hot, brand new music artist. His music I enjoy. But not only that, he is a man of God, Sigma, and just a really dope individual who I've been following and seeing throughout his career. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kameron Kayshon Evans. Welcome to the show, bro.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me, my guy. I've been waiting for the invite, so I'm happy that it's finally here.
I wasn't at where I needed to be in order to get you to invite you to the show, bro.
Hey, it's perfectly fine. No, time is right now. So
time is right now.
Happy to be here, man.
Right now, bro. I really do appreciate you coming on to the show. For the people who are the audience who don't know what Campus Cuts is an intergenerational, multicultural podcast show that brings students, entrepreneurs, athletes, celebrities, and artists from all walks of life to chop it up in the virtual barbershop. Just out there spreading a message of diversity, inclusion, but most importantly, tapping into the people for who they really are. So, man, Cam, the first question, I gave you my introduction, but I want you to introduce yourself. So, your name, your occupation, and where you're from. And then we'll move on.
Yes, sir. All right. So, name is Kameron, aka Kayshon, as y'all probably see on the screen. That's my music name. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised. Currently, I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now for the NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. Got the ring on right now. Like Tanaka said, graduate from Baylor, graduated in 2019 with my degree in sports strategy and sales, and then got my MBA in 2021 at the end of the year. So happy to be here. Music's been going good for me lately. Job's been going great. I got recently promoted about a few months ago. So I'm very excited to be where I am in life, and I'm excited for the future.
Bro, you literally standing here today. Of course, being Black History Month or Black Future Month, as Kanye says it, right? You are the epitome of breaking the cycles. Like, you broke the statistics. I want to go tap in to going back to like the beginning. How or who were the people that you feel like were very, very influential in your life that helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I would definitely say my parents first and foremost for pushing me. They never gave up on me, always telling me like you can do great things, and just having that belief in me. I know a lot of people don't have that support system from their parents and what they want to do, but I've been blessed with both parents in my life, and they've been very instrumental in who I am today. I'd also say my friends who I've grown up with since I was a kid, all the way to the friends I made in college. They always pushed me to be the best version of myself. But I would also say someone that definitely transformed my education per se would be a woman that was a counselor at the University of Oregon, where I attended for 2 years before I went to Baylor. But not in the way that most people would think that the counselor transformed my life in a good way. But because of her doubts, and obviously my academics at Oregon wasn't the best, which is why I transferred to Baylor in the first place. But she basically told me, like, I want to be a business major. I knew I wanted to be in sports business. That's the route that I said I want to go. She told me, yeah, I don't know if college is right for you after my first year, which is kind of hard to hear. Yeah, I'm in a new state, freshman year, getting adjusted to college. Told me I wasn't gonna I should probably find a trade school type of thing. And as Michael Jordan says, I took that personally and ended up going to Baylor, graduated magna cum laude, had a 3.9 GPA. So I definitely shout her out for doubting me on that. So that's probably the biggest influence right there on how I got to where I am today.
Bro, no one talks about that. Everybody talks about all the good, but no one talks about like the doubters can be fuel.
Yes.
The doubters can be fuel. And on one, thank you for being honest and transparent about that.
Of course.
Because I often think that most of the time, whenever we do watch, for example, anybody that knows, watch, there's Genius is out, Kanye Genius.
Yep.
And I'm inspired by that because the amount of no's and the amount of doubts that man went, and it was just like, but he just knew. Like, did you always felt like you always had like a knowing deep down inside?
Yeah, so I feel like just through life, I've always, I wouldn't say known, but I just knew I had a purpose in life and that I was going to do something great, whether that be in the industry that I'm in, whether that be music or just whatever endeavor that I take part in. I've always known, like, if I put my mind to it, like I can, like, there's nothing that's stopping me as long as, you know, I have God by my side. So I've always known, like, you know, I can do it. It only pushes me more when someone tells me I can't. I love that. So that's just something that's always been pushing me outside of my own, like, intrinsic motivation for myself.
And now, with top of that, what happens after, how did it feel to, like, do what you've done? Like, is there a part of you that just like lets it go? Do you allow yourself to release it then and be like, okay, I'm done and I can pack it? Or do you still feel like you still carry this chip on your shoulder?
I feel like I still carry a chip on my shoulder, just because the type of person I am. I'm very like future. Like I'm looking towards, like, what can I do now to better place myself in the future for the life that I want to live. So I always have that chip on my shoulder. I don't really, like, get comfortable. There's a lot, and that's something I've been trying to work on, like, personally. Just like living in the present, living in the moment, understanding what I've done. I'm like, hey, I've done some really great things, but typically because I'm always so looking forward in the future, I don't ever bask in it. So I'm like, okay, did that, cool. Like, what's next? Like, I got to figure out to do something. So it's definitely something that I'm trying to work on, but for sure.
I feel you on that one, bro. I feel you on that one. Because I remember, shout out to my ex, I'm nothing but love. She told me that when is it ever going to be enough? And I'm like, what do you mean? But like, I think it's different though when you actually enjoy the ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ambition, just having that ambitious intrinsic motivation of this, like you just enjoy doing. And of
Exactly.
course, granted, you go back and you go to your roots and da 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 da. And then after that, I know for me, at one point, it was to people please and it was to prove people wrong. But then I realized that's kind of exhausting. And
Yeah.
so, like, I'm very grateful on my journey that I've been able to put it down. But the most important thing, though, is just like I'm living the true ambition for myself and in a way that is a little bit more healthier.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the practical steps, if you have any, that you've learned so far in you working through that you felt like you've gained along the way in order to help you be more present?
Yeah, so kind of like you said, I've always, like, just through life, I've always been a people pleaser, or I just want to make everyone happy. I want everyone to like me. And like it was really just like just recently where I finally, like, let that go and realized, like, okay, like you said, it's draining to, like, try to make everybody else happy, especially like if you're not happy yourself with what you're doing. So one, like, the biggest step for me was letting go of caring what everybody else thought and just focusing on, okay, like, let me get my own mindset right. Let me get my mental health right. Let me focus on what I like to do. I'm always concerned about what someone else is wanting to do. How can I help them? And I had to take a step back and realize, like, okay, I have a life too. Like, I want to do something and I have some passions that I want to do, such as music, which I probably would have never gotten into if I still cared what other people thought.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I was very shy with it. I didn't like singing in front of people. I didn't like. I wrote all the time, but it was just like if I post this, what are people gonna say? Are they gonna like it? Are they gonna comment like, "Oh, you suck," trash emoji? Like, I was so, like, involved. And social media has always been like a big thing for, artists as people blow up. But I was like, if I post and they hate it, then it's gonna feel like I just wasted my time. But once I got out of that mindset, that's when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this music thing and see where it goes. And as long as I like what I'm doing, I don't really care what everybody else's opinion is. If they don't like it, if they do like it, I love the support. But if you don't,
Right. It's okay, bro. I never would have thought you were a people pleaser. I thought you were always a cool guy. I mean, you are a cool guy.
Yeah.
I never like I that never I that never or the interactions that I've had or watching you. I remember from the very first time you did sing your probate, all the way up until now. I never thought that. I would never even think that you would be that type of person.
Yeah, that probate though, where I sang, that was extremely hard for me. But the only reason I did it is because everyone said I had to do it. They're like, there's no choice. So it was part of that
Mm.
people pleasing aspect where I was like, all right, well, if my profiles want me to do it, I guess I got to do it. But I didn't really want to do it. I'm not gonna lie. I was scared. We was outside. It was cold. Voice was shaking. My voice cracked every single practice before that probate.
Yeah.
And then luckily the probate it didn't happen. So
yeah,
that people pleasing mindset, I've had to learn how to cut that out and just focus on myself and do what makes me happy.
man. What does it mean to be? What does it mean to be happy for you?
See, that's something I'm still searching for. I feel like happiness is every time you do something that you think would make you happy. Like at least for me, as I'm growing right now, it's like I think I'll be happy if I do this, but it's never that. It's like, okay, I need something else, or maybe this is like that search for happiness. Right now, like relationships make me happy. My music is making me happy. The people I work with makes me happy. But trying to like that fine line of, okay, is this really what I want to do because I enjoy doing it or because I'm good at it? That's kind of where I've been at for a long time. So happiness is still something that I tell my friends all the time, like, yeah, I feel good, but am I truly happy with the way things are, how I'm doing? Like, no, I feel like I'm not always happy, but it's something that I'm definitely trying to work on and search for to find like true happiness in everything that I do.
That hits. That hits. Especially in the fact that, am I doing this because I'm good at it and being competent?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because everybody, it's like working a job. Like, yeah, I'm good at the job, and people love that I'm good at the job, and people are happy that I'm good. People are happy with me because of my performance with my job, right? But then it's like, will you love me for me?
Exactly.
Like have you watched the listen to the podcast with Scooter Braun and Jay Shetty?
I don't think I've watched the pod. I've seen some interviews with Scooter Braun, but I don't think I've watched the podcast.
Yeah, like the recent ones. Like I've been watching. Like I've been studying. Obviously, he was somebody that I've studied throughout. Like as I'm building up my career, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But like for him, one of the things was like he also struggled with something similar, of trying to like grinding so hard and all that stuff, and then letting his little kid run away, and then after that, like going to the Hoffman process and finding himself again, and he's like, yo, yeah, I'm good at this, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you noticed me because I'm good at it. But I want meet Scott. Like, hi, I'm Scott. Like, I'm good at the game, but if you want to talk to me, let's be friends for who we are.
Exactly.
And I feel like oftentimes, like, it's very scary to show who we really are to people, because of course it's like, this person may not like me.
Exactly.
How do you like for those relationships that you do have and that have been successful, how do you make room in order for you to show who you are and you allow them to show them for who they are?
Yeah, so I feel like anybody that I've built close relationships with, because I'm a pretty standoffish person at first. I'm one of the people. I'm naturally introverted. I don't go out of my way to talk to people, not because I don't like people. It's just I want to not study you, but understand who that person is before I try to get close to them. Right. But for the people that I have relationships with, once I feel like that relationship's been built, I'm myself. Like, I'm my authentic self. I feel like the only times I may not be my authentic self is like in a corporate environment, just because you can't be too immature or you can't do too often. Like I have bosses, I got to get a paycheck. Can't be my authentic self all the time. Right. But in formulating the relationships that I have, I feel like it's always been easy for me because I've always had a small circle. I'm not one to have hundreds and like just thousands of people that I call friends. Ever since like middle school, high school, I've had a circle of 3 to 4 people in each level that I truly consider like, okay, this is my inner circle. I have friends outside of that, but this inner circle is who sees my truly authentic self. So I try to find those people, and that's how I build my authentic relationships with people. I mean, obviously, I'll be authentic with, like, if I consider you a friend, I'll always keep it real with somebody, but there's just different levels to how I associate how much I give to somebody depending on how much I know them.
Absolutely, and I think that's very mature. And I'm happy, Ben. Bro, that's something I've struggled with. I called everybody my friend, and I went the hard way. No, everybody's your friend.
That's what I'm saying, bro. It is hard. It's hard because, like, especially with that people pleasing like aspect, is you want everybody to be your friend. But then I feel like in certain situations, you realize who your real friends are, and it always like I think I noticed that pretty much like with this music stuff. That's when I realized who was my actual friends who really supported me and who was just like, all right, I'm gonna follow you just because we go to the same school type of thing. But that when you start doing like business endeavors and things of that nature, I feel like that's when you find out who's really with you and who's really like a true supporter and friend of yours.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, how was that for you? Like, when as you embarked on your musical career?
Yeah, so I mean, it was tough at first because obviously you want your streams to be high. You want everyone to just be spamming, liking your comment, like just oh, this is so great. Um, but I realized like that's just not how it's gonna be. There's people that that might not like you, so they're automatically not gonna listen. Or there's people that just don't like that type of music, so they won't listen. But I've realized at this point, like I have people that if I put out a song, they're gonna listen. If I'll have friends that'll hit me up like, hey, when are you dropping an album? I don't know when I'm dropping an album, but they'll say things that like keeps me motivated to go, and I know like, hey, you're like, I appreciate the support. Like I'm always appreciative. I always stay humble with the music stuff because it's just like I don't like people don't have to listen to me, and I don't force people to listen to me. It's just I put it out there. If you want to listen, you listen, and I'll be appreciative. But I feel like just in general, for the most part, my friends have been supportive, or at least people that are close to me in my circle and who I actually associate myself with. They've been supportive. It's just getting the rest of everybody on that's just kind of spectating until you pop off or something.
Yeah, you pop up, and then all of a sudden they start coming out of nowhere saying, "Oh, I always knew.
I
Oh, I
always
was
listen to
out
you.
of
I'm
here.
always, yeah, it's just,
Oh, bro, I believed in you, bro. Oh.
exactly. So I definitely appreciate the people that have listened since I was making music in 2017 and my first few songs. Like I'm very appreciative because nobody has to listen to or just they don't have to do anything that I ask them. If I say stream, you don't have to do it. But I'm appreciative for the people that do.
The art of detachment, like anything that we create, especially being a creative person or creating something, right, that is outside the status quo. And when I say that, it doesn't mean it has to be like some innovative thing, but it's just
Mhm.
like, yo, like you're bringing birth into an existence of some sort of idea that's been implanted in you, right? And the only time that we can ever allow our ego is in the creating phase. But whenever it's out there, we have to detach from it because at the end of the day, it will do what it needs to do.
Mhm.
It will play the role that it's supposed to play. And once the faster that we're able to detach from the certain outcome, and of course, it's so cheesy, it's so cliche, but trust the process and trust the journey and whatever. But like, I really wish people understand like that stuff is real.
Yeah,
It's real. Like I feel like the more free and more free flowing that you're able to be, of course, it's a balancing act because it's like, oh, it's your baby, right?
exactly. And that's I feel that for real because I've had songs that have done at least well to my standards, in terms of like people listening to it, and I've had songs where I like I thought I was gonna pop off, or I was like, oh, this is gonna be a hit, and then I look at the streams, I'm like, dang, all right, this ain't really a hit. And before, when like I was just starting, like with my like first EP that I put out, that would have hurt. Like I would have been like, damn, like let me stop. And I actually was gonna stop music, which is crazy enough. After I put my first EP out, I was like, I'm done. Like it didn't get the streams that it had. I was attached to it. I was like, I felt like I was vulnerable. Nobody accepted it as much. And then it was a couple friends that are like, no, bro, like you gotta keep going. Like it's it's okay if they don't like. Do you like it? I was like, yeah, I like it. Like I love it. I listen to myself. If I'd rather listen to myself than most people. So like,
Right.
once I got to the mindset where I was like, all right, I'm cool with. I'll put the product out. Y'all do what y'all want to do with it, and just like you said, trust the process. It's been smooth sailing for me, at least on the detachment stage. Of all right, here's my baby. Here y'all can have it and do what y'all please.
Bro, that's beautiful. And I love the fact that you listen to your own music. Most people say, oh no, I don't listen to my music. Oh.
Yeah, I won't lie. I don't like listening to my music if other people are in my car. But because I feel like that's just a little much. But if I'm riding in the car by myself, I'm at least going through all the songs I have. Some of the unreleased stuff, I'll probably play that 2, 3, 4 times, and then because I just have to get used to liking my voice. So it's a part of just making. That's like the art of making my music. I hated my voice for so long. I hated listening back to it. So at this point, it's just like I'm playing it for my sake. So I'm like, all right, if I can listen to this 1,000 times, you can at least listen to it once. So
Right. Yeah, I like that because I used to hate. I think every person who creates something or whatever hates listening to their voice.
yes,
I hated listening, and you have to get used to it. It's like, okay, so that's how I really sound like.
yeah, it took me a while, and I've worked with some good engineers that have that have made the process a lot easier for me. So I shout out my guy Adrian in Houston. That's who I work with now with Patrick. He does great work, so I appreciate him because if it wasn't for him, I probably would still be sitting on a bunch of songs right now trying to figure out do I like my voice or not. So
That's actually really incredible. And now I want to take a little bit of a pivot. And I remember I saw you on your frat brothers, Darren, and who I had on the podcast about a month ago or so. You read Live Free, and I read Live Free, bro. What you think about the book? Have you finished it?
I have the last chapter. I actually supposed to read the last chapter today. But I think it's amazing. I think it spoke to me just because I'm someone that has always put like big expectations on myself or have set expectations on other people. And like
Mm,
what the book talks about is like you can't really get upset at people for expectations you put on them when they didn't ask for it. Or when you're looking at yourself, whether it's a job or where you want to be in life, because I'm so forward thinking in my future, I can't get upset at the stuff that's getting me to that point. Like obviously I want to be making this amount of money or I want to be this part by this age. Like it's just letting those boundaries go and setting realistic expectations. So it's hit home for me. Like I probably text about it every night. Like after every chapter, I'm like, "Yo, we should do this, or have you tried this? Like, how do you like?" It's been pretty eye opening for me.
man, that book changed. I read it. I think I got it um, after I finished summer school. Right before I graduated, that was my last class, and man, reading that book, and of course, I started doing 75 hard, right? Because
Mhm.
obviously, everything that was supposed that I was a part of or was previously, tied to, blew up in my face or in the face, right?
Yeah,
And we had this high hope of doing this and doing that, and it was like, and it's like, damn. And then so going to try to go and try to like get jobs or anything like that, and it's like, damn, bro, like nothing is just working out. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've never been a perfectionist. I never had that perfectionist gene, but I've always been a person who always had high expectations as well.
hmm
But like, but also it's kind of funny because it was just like that liberty and freedom of like, I don't have to live up to the expectations. I deferred grad school. I don't have to live up to the expectations of my parents
yep,
or my significant other. Like that's on them thing. That it only becomes a me thing when I start internalizing it and letting that like into my operating system. And I really love the way that Devon like took that like your OS and you have to be able to update it frequently and making sure it's according to your values and what you think about it. Because if
exactly.
you don't, like, and especially in the world where it's like everything's happening so fast, it's so manufactured, everything is like success is now here, like the top 7 success things, get abs and this and it's just so much stimulation, and sometimes it's like, damn, I'm a failure, but really
Exactly.
we're not.
Exactly. That's something that it's taking me a minute to like realize. 'Cause I see my peers. Like we got people in our circle that like are doing great things at a young age, and I'm still looking at them. I'm like, dang, like this. He just bought a house and he's 20, 22, 23, and I'm over here just trying to figure out like how am I going to pay rent the next day? Like it gets into that mindset of trying to like compare yourself, but when you realize like you got to run your own race. I mean, everyone that's successful didn't do it early on in their career. Jeff Bezos didn't do it early on in his career. Jay-Z didn't do it when he was young. So like you still have time. It's just a matter of putting in the work and then seeing that work come into fruition. It'll come. You just have to. I just tell myself I gotta wait my turn, and when that
Yeah.
turn comes, I'm gonna turn up. So
Yeah. And in the essence of waiting our turn, quote unquote, that doesn't mean sit and do nothing.
exactly.
It's like, no, you got to show up
Yep.
every day. Produce the tracks. Show up. Like, oh man, you show up. You be consistent. You show up and you continue to do what you got to do. Things like people, and the thing is too is like the one thing I don't like is the fact that people are watching, but they won't say anything until something happens, and it's like, why didn't you say anything before or what?
Exactly. That happens a lot. That's something that I feel like I've seen more lately. Where it's just like as soon as you do something good or like people consider it to be great, then they'll be like, oh yeah, I've been like I've always admired how you did this and this, but you never told me anything like before that. Like this whole time I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm just coasting and stuff, and then someone will come around and be like, oh no, like I really like how you did it that way. And I'm like, well, like, especially with music. If you liked how I did it the first way, I would have liked that feedback, because then I probably would have taken it that route. So it's something that it's definitely something to think about for sure.
Yeah, bro, that is good. And now, more a little bit back to your pivot to the career now. Um, how did you get into? Of course, you said you wanted to be in the sports business pretty young. How did you get into? How did you get find that route for you?
So for me, I was pretty short as a kid. Like I was 5'3" until like my junior year of high school. So I didn't. My mom pretty much told me sports wasn't gonna be a thing for me. But I always had a passion for like I love sports. Like it's always I like the power of sports, and it's how it brings people together. And I've always had sales jobs like growing up. Like I was working Finish Line. I work at I don't think I forgot the name of the store now. It was like a tech store. Like I always worked in sales, so I was like, okay, well, I always worked in sales. I like sports. Is there something that bridges like the two of those together? And I found the S3 program at Baylor, and from that point, it was just connections. The amount of connections that they have in that program is ridiculous. And I was actually, well, like I said earlier, I went to Texas Motor Speedway first, so that was my first sports job. I had an internship there, and then worked as an account executive there as well, in NASCAR before COVID hit. And then during my MBA program, I still knew I wanted to go into sales. And I can tell you now, like MBA programs don't talk about sales, so it's kind of like this is just my backup degree if sports world kind of fails. But I ended up connecting with my manager through the MBA Future Sales program, which I was lucky to get into. And that whole program was designed, which I didn't know at first because I just saw it on LinkedIn and applied. It was for diverse students. So that was the most Black people I've seen like in the sports that were interested in sports or wanting a career in sports. Like there's women, people who were from like LGBTQ communities. Like it was just a specific program to get more diverse people into the industry. And I ended up meeting my manager, or my past manager from when I was a sales associate in Milwaukee. I talked with them. They're doing a lot of great things here in terms of diversity and making sure people feel like welcomed, and they just have a lot of employee resource groups. And I just felt like it just made sense. So that's how I ended up in Milwaukee, out of all places. I never thought I'd live somewhere this cold, but when you have a good organization that cares about your people, and genuinely cares about the things that's going on in society, like around Black Lives Matters and things like that, it's a comforting place to work. So that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at right
Yeah, that's really dope. That's really dope. Milwaukee out of all places. And so now with that, so do you travel back and forth frequently, or are you primarily based there? How does that work?
So I live here full time, and we have to work in our office. But I do travel frequently. My coworkers will definitely say I'm gone pretty much every other weekend. Typically, I go to Houston to go like link up with Patrick, go record. That's typically my time to go to the studio and work with the people that I work with down there. And then also significant other, traveling to see them or see her, not them. But that's probably the bulk of my traveling. But I don't stay in Milwaukee that often. If it's a free weekend and we don't have a game, I'm probably gone.
How is the city? Is it nice?
It's a nice city. You'd be surprised. Like it's nice in the summer, which is what they sold me on, because they didn't even talk about the winters like that. But It's a nice city. It's growing. It's very young and up and coming. So it's not a bad city to at least visit or live for quite a bit. It's not terrible.
Okay, that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And so, for anybody that is young, trying to get into the sports strategy skills or whatever, what are like some three tips of like three pieces of advice that you would give to a young person of color, like somebody like it's like, oh, bro, this dude's killing it. What would you give them in order to help them get to the next step?
Yeah. So first piece of advice is networking. Like it is so important. The sports community is very small in terms of how many employees each team has. So it is very important to know hiring managers, get connected, just have conversations, just introduce yourself, pick their brain a little bit, because they hire almost, if it's not twice a year, they at least hire once a year, and you'll be on their radar. So my first tip would definitely be networking and getting out in front of them. The second tip that I would have, I would say that you don't necessarily need a degree in sports sales to have a career in sports sales, at least specifically. I work with someone that's her degree was in public health. Someone else's was in economics. Like sales is something that you can be taught. You don't have to be a natural born seller. No one's really naturally good at it. Like you have to be taught how to do it. Obviously, you can be an extrovert and you can like talking to people, which helps. But sales is taught, so you don't have to have a background in it for you to be successful in a sales career. And then my last piece of advice would probably be just to make sure that if you're going to be in sports, connect with people in different departments. So like right now, I'm in sales. I had a coworker. Her name is Hollis. She started in sales, but she knew she wanted to be in partnerships, which is a different department from what we do. Um, when she first got here, she made connections with that other side of the room. She did well at her job as a sales associate, but now she works in corporate partnerships. So she has a completely different role, but she only got there because once she got in the organization, she connected with people in other departments to see where she thought she'd want to go next. So that'd be my last piece of advice there.
That's really helpful. One, I know somebody's going to take that away. That was really really good, and I loved how succinct that you did that. So thank you. Second, what do you sell? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, in the NBA, like what does it mean to do sales in the NBA?
Yeah. So as an account executive, as a sales associate, we get full menu, is what they say in the sports world. So for the most part, or at least in the beginning of next season, or what we're already starting right now, is selling new season tickets. So that's selling the 41 home games plus two like preseason games. Outside of full season tickets, we'll have our smaller packages like our half season plans and our 10 games. And then we're able to sell group tickets for businesses, fraternities that want to come out. Like we have an HBCU night actually on Monday that one of my associates, like my coworkers, is working on. It's going to be a very successful night for him. And then we're also able to sell premium spaces, so suites, lofts, stuff that includes food, kind of the whole 9 yards. And this year also we got to sell courtside, so that was a nice addition. Typically we don't do that because people usually have those seats for 2 to 3 years at a time. But because of COVID, it kind of opened up some opportunities for us. So courtside was something that was a nice addition to sell.
That's dope. That's incredible. Thank you for enlightening, because I'm just like I was curious to know. I'm like,
yeah, most people don't know. Most people ask me like, so you just sell like tickets or something? And I'm like, yeah, but it's more on like a larger scale. It's not like an individual ticket. And we also do concerts and shows. Like Tyler Creator's here tonight.
Right.
And we sold premium inventory for that.
Are you going or no?
No, it's a late show. Like it started at 7 and he doesn't go on until 10:15. But I didn't get a free ticket, so I wasn't going. So.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Now I want to go pivot back into you mentioned the pandemic twice now. That was over like this. Yeah, coming up next month.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, post-COVID. In this 2 years, man, what were some of the significant things that you felt like that you've learned, about yourself and about the world throughout the pandemic these past 2 years?
Yeah, so at least personally, I feel like I learned quite a bit about myself. The pandemic, I hated reading. before going into COVID, and now I have like a bookshelf over here in my living room, which is something I never thought my parents were surprised. I was asking for books for Christmas gifts and everything like that. So I found out that one, I'm very like intrigued by a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. Like I got into real estate investing really heavily, got into uh, the stock market stuff mainly because like Patrick and his trade with Paramount stuff. And so I found out like I was really eager to learn new things, just to expand my knowledge and my mindset on what else is there in the world. And then also found out like I'm I'm very determined to be like I want to be successful. So like during the pandemic, I decided to go back to school, obviously get my MBA. But there was other ventures that I ended up starting up at least. So for example, I started a music showcase with my friend that I went to Oregon with. And we had our first show in Austin. Had Mona Leo perform in it, which she's blowing up crazy right now. So it was just a blessed opportunity to have her in the showcase. But I found out like that. I found my entrepreneurial side during the pandemic, so I was very grateful for that.
That's incredible. That's incredible. That's really good. And so with that, obviously, going to success and you and your artistry, have you thought about the possible repercussions of like one day being famous? Do you want to be famous?
No. That's something I've talked with Patrick a lot because I told it like I put in my most recent song, "Take a Risk." I was like, the fame and flashing lights I never wanted. It's like it's very futuristic thinking, but I just feel like I would love the money that comes with fame and the opportunity and the different outlets I can get into that comes with fame. But I'm also a private person, and once you're famous, you lose all sense of privacy. So that's the aspect of fame that I don't like. So which is why I would say I don't want to be famous. So like if there was a way that my music could blow up and I could just collect the check and be happy and go performing still, but like people aren't just all in my business, that'd be beautiful. But I would say just to answer the question, fame, no, that's never something that's interests me. It's fame.
Mm, mm. Just like so, kind of like a Kendrick dropping button lead.
Yeah, like Kendrick, like Bryson Tiller when he originally came, like he didn't do interviews, he didn't do anything that like put his face out there like that much because he wanted to have some sense of privacy. Now he's doing more. Obviously, like he's going on more shows, doing more things, and being more confident within himself as an artist, which is like something he said in his own like interview that I watched of his. But I'm probably I think in the stage that I'm at right now, I like my life and I like the privacy that I have. And it's just fame, I feel like is just invasive. So
Very, very much so. And like cancel culture
yeah,
and all that BS, man.
you gotta watch what you say. It's like you say the wrong thing, people will bring up stuff from your past, like stuff you did as a kid, and it's just like you wouldn't have that issue if you weren't famous. So it's just like I try to stick away with it. But like if I gotta be famous for the music stuff to go on, then that's just what it is. At least I'm doing something I love to do.
It comes with the territory, though, you know.
Exactly. You can't be a shy artist. That's what Patrick always tells me.
Yeah, and it's true. You can't be a shy artist, and like especially when you're coming up, like you're the one that's going to be promoting like the people that are going to like the person that's promoting your most stuff, like your stuff is yourself, right? At first,
Yeah.
until you build up like a genuine fan base. But I think with like decentralization and all technology, I mean, for example, I look at Russ in terms of somebody he's relatively well known,
Mm-hmm.
but he did it his own way because not really necessarily depending on a label. He owns his stuff because he just put in time, like years and years and years and years and years of like damn near 10 years in his catalog. And then when he started blowing up, everything just came afterwards. I mean, that's kind of like the same practice that I continue, that my philosophy. Because I know that I'm like, my shit. I mean, I would like to think it's cool, but I'm like self-aware though. It's just like I'm not gonna be like no, like a Jack. Oh, man, I can't even say Jack Harlow, but it's just like how some artists just come out in the scene and they're just big, and then after that it's just zoom.
Yeah.
I know I'm the type of person that's just like, yo, I'm just gonna come at you consistently, and I'm just gonna come consistently, and then of course people will go back like, oh, look at the rise. But again, the fame stuff though is just I don't know, cause dude, I don't know, because people be weird on the internet, bro.
Bro, yes, bro. Like I just started getting like I didn't want to like I have TikTok, but I didn't want to get on TikTok because I was just like I didn't want the weird comments. I just didn't. I was like as much as TikTok is it's a great platform, especially if you're trying to get buzz, and a lot of artists are getting buzz from it, which is why like I've been trying to be more active on the app. But it was just like that same thought of like, bro, some people are just weird, and it's just like I don't want that. Like I just don't want to associate that with myself. But like if I want to make my music going, like if I got to get it going, then you got to do some things to get you there. So
Yeah, yeah. I do appreciate that context. And now, Kim, this is towards the end of the show. I usually ask these pretty big questions, more of your take, your POV on the society, social commentary. So my first question is, how have you felt like your identity, um, I don't want to even say as a black man, but like your identity, how have you felt like it shaped your worldview?
yeah, so I feel like I think the most like transformative years and like in terms of my identity happened during college, especially at Baylor. Just because growing up, like I'm pretty fair skinned, or like people will call me like light skinned if people want to go that way. But growing up as a kid, like I grew up in church. Our church was primarily like dark skinned individuals, so I got called like Mexican. Didn't get to fit in with like the black kids, and then the white kids didn't really want to hang out with me either because I was still black to them. And so growing up, I didn't really know where I fit in. So like when certain things would happen, like I was just like, all right, well, I'll just make it happen. I'll have a few mix of both and try to fit in. It didn't help that I went to predominantly white schools, and my other like friends went to more like diverse institutions. So I felt like growing up, my identity was like I didn't really know who I was. And then when I got to Baylor, and then got to be around people and like-minded individuals, and joining a fraternity and being in Black Greek life and understanding everything that entails with that. That's kind of where I found who I was and how I identified myself as a man. It's crazy that you asked that, because we just had a conversation with I believe her name was Dr. Vanessa. I don't want to mess that up, but she came and talked at our company because it's Black History Month. We have a couple like speakers that came in to talk about it. So talked about like nigrescence and the path that Black people or African Americans go through in finding their own identity. And I feel like that was the most eye-opening thing to me, because like each step that she brought up, I felt like, okay, I remember at what age I was in that step. I remember at what age I was at that point. When did I become like, okay, I'm proud to be Black. I'm proud of what's going, like, of being who I am and not being shy about it. Like I knew when I was at that point. But how it shaped my worldview, now obviously with everything going on, like I feel like being like having that college education and being more educated instead of looking at Facebook and what Facebook tells me, I feel like I've had a deeper understanding of what's wrong with society and where change needs to happen, and how the things that go on, especially in like the Black community, affect everybody, and I've seen it firsthand. So that's uh, it's been a wild journey, but I definitely feel like I finally found my identity and where I belong and how I feel about everything that's going on in the world as of recent.
Wow, that's really good, and thank you for being vulnerable and honest about that, bro. Um, what does it mean to be a man? I know that question is like, because I think right now, currently, there's a crisis amongst men, mental health wise,
Mm-hmm.
like just like career wise and a lot of stuff, and the rise of feminism, both the one that is more equal egalitarian and radical, like manhood, like I was listening to this podcast by Tom Bayou, Impact Theory, and he was talking about like this author. I forgot the doctor, but it's like it was talking about like the boy crisis and how a lot of men and a lot of young boys today are suffering whatever, anything like that, right? And especially with our community, like and even for example, like your music is actually very vulnerable and honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we are not. typically allowed to express our feelings unless it's like I'm gonna go grab a girl, or I'm gonna shut up the club, or anything like. There's not a We're not allowed to be nuanced, right?
Yeah.
So for you, what does manhood mean to you, bro?
Yeah. So to me, obviously that, there's the old way of looking at it, like someone that's the man of the house, working has to be the provider, the guy that's gonna change your flat tire, change your oil, all that stuff, like the big manly man type, doesn't show much emotion. To me, uh, being a man is being emotionally available and
Mm,
understanding, one, how you are mentally and how that affects the people that's around you, whether that be significant others, family, friends, and just also being, mentally aware of how other people feel about things, and being able to have that emotional intelligence to be there for someone. As well, like I'm a natural, like I want to care for people. So to me, like as a man, my job that I feel like I'm supposed to do is I'm gonna take care of you. If that's financially, emotionally, like whatever you need, I'm going to be there for you no matter like what. Like that's just the type of person I am. Just extremely just by the book. Like I'm a caregiver. I feel like I got that from my mom. But those two things, just like being emotionally available, being caring, and then you know one also like I'm religious. Like I walk by faith. So being with like having a relationship with God, I think that's important for people that aren't religious. Having something of higher substance that you have a relationship with.
right.
I think that's important as a man. And then uh, just being someone with a purpose and a passion. Like I'm not the type of person that's just gonna sit around all day and just like, oh, I prayed for 30 days for the lottery, for me to hit the lottery or something, and then my life is gonna change. Like I feel like as a man, you should go out, seek what you're trying to do, and go pursue it. Like put your all in it. If it fails, that's okay. You learn from it and you move on, and then you do something else. But you're always working to do something and have a purpose. That's what I would define as a man to me.
That's incredible, bro. Man, that's I know this is because I've been thinking and going through my journey of like what it means to be a man, and like I read that Jason Wilson book, Battle Cry. She's changed my life. Like no, I mean it does, because like you're being a comprehensive man, right? And I just want to say thank you for sharing that, bro. And so this is more weird, but not weird, but with that, how do you take care of yourself nowadays, post grad? Then how
Yeah,
have you been taking care of yourself?
yeah. So recently, um, I've been going to the gym. So I've changed my mindset in terms of taking advantage of the time that we have. Like you have 24 hours in a day. So I start my day a lot earlier before I just wake up about 15 minutes before I have to go to work, take a quick shower, and then go. So now I start my day at 6 a.m. I go to the gym. I do a lot of readings now just to help me self reflect on what I'm doing. I've done therapy in the past, which is something I was very scared to do because I was just like, it's kind of weird being vulnerable at first. But then I realized like how much like I needed that to like share how I felt about something. Like if you didn't feel comfortable with sharing it with someone else, just having just like that random person you can talk your talk with, and just have someone that's not gonna judge you for what you're saying. So I'd say those three things: therapy, reading, um, and going to the gym is what I've been kind of keeping me busy. And then also music. Music's my therapy. Also, like I'm very vulnerable in what I write. Most of it's either stuff that's happened, it's real, or it's hit close to home. So it's just something that if I feel sad, writing a song out of it. So it's this music has been my probably one of my biggest outlets for how I take care of myself now.
That's incredible, bro. That's incredible. This is gonna set people free. All right, man. Last two questions I gotta ask you, bro, is what are three things that you would tell to your 18-year-old self?
First thing, don't be scared. I should have started my music stuff a long time ago. Back
Mm,
because the first song I recorded, I was 17 in my freshman year of college at Oregon, and I didn't record another song again. I didn't write for another 2 years.
hold on.
and it was just I was so scared that like I was just scared of people's opinions. I didn't like my voice, even though it had like good. Even though I listen back on it now, I still hate that. I hate my voice on the song, but I'm just like it wasn't terrible, but it. I would tell that'd be the first thing I tell myself: don't be scared to pursue music, because that's what you like to do, and it's something that if I would have started 2 years ago, I could have who knows where I could have been right now. So that's the first thing I tell myself. Two, I would say be patient. Um, my 18-year-old self was very like, okay, I'm gonna plan everything out in my life. I'm gonna do this by this age, this by this age, this by this age, and none of that happened. But I have to be okay with that. Like, it's nothing wrong that it didn't happen the way that I wanted. Like, that was my plan, but it wasn't necessarily God's plan.
Yeah.
So just realizing, like, hey, be patient with what you're doing. Like, eventually something will work out for you. And then lastly, I tell myself to, you know, care more about be more proud about your accomplishments. Because as I've gone through life, like we talked about earlier, like with me thinking futuristically, there's certain moments like in life that are pretty big for like everyone that I kind of just brushed off. So I would definitely tell myself like at 18, like, hey, when you graduate college, that is a major deal. Like, not everyone does that. Because when I graduated college, I was just like, okay, yeah, that's just what I was supposed to do. That, like, it wasn't a big deal to me. But now looking back on it, it's something that like I've never been one to like be happy about accomplishments. I'm just like, okay, cool, move it on. But to my 18-year-old self, soak in those accomplishments and actually feel like it's okay to feel happy that you did something. And don't look at it as, okay, well, now that I did this, people are going to hate on me because I did this, this, and that. Like this. So that's probably the things I tell myself.
That's powerful, bro. This is definitely going to set people free. And I'm so happy that I'm proud of you for now the fact that you are now celebrating and basking in your accomplishments. Because again, like most of the time, most men and most black men, when we're told not to celebrate, like, I think there's kind of this stigma of like, if we celebrate, right? Oh, we're seen as braggadocious, or we're seen as like we have this bravado.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, who are you in order for you to think to like, to celebrate that? Whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's just like every victory, big and small, produces the same amount of dopamine within us, and it's vital for us because it helps us bring the momentum. And the more that we delay it, the worse we get mentally. Honestly.
Exactly. Like that's some real stuff right there for sure. Like,
Thank you, bro. And my last question, bro, is what do you want your legacy to be?
That's a good question. For me, first and foremost, like look like if everything were to end, like I would want people to be like, he went for it. Like he put an honest effort in trying to do what he wanted to do in life. And that's probably like that's probably been my biggest motivator, like at least currently now. It's just like life is not like every day is not guaranteed. And I don't want to live life with any regrets. Like I wish I did. Like I'm 40 years old. I'm like, oh, I wish I would have tried to do music, or I wish I would have tried to start that business. Like I want my legacy to be like he tried. Like even if everything failed, he tried and he went out swinging, and he tried his hardest to do something outside of just having just like that work career, but also just wanted to be like someone that genuinely cared for other people and wanted to see everyone succeed and help people get to that point of like succeed. That's where I get my most fulfillment in life, is seeing other people get to where they want to be, seeing someone start that business, selling their shirts, making it however big that they want to be. That's what gets me excited. So just people understanding like, yeah, like if I started a t-shirt company, if I started music, I could count on Cam to support me. And that just goes along. I just want to be known as someone that was always like there for people.
That's incredible, bro. Man, this was good. This is good, bro. This is my last podcast, Speak Life. I just speak life to my guests, bro. Man, I'm a big fan of yours musically. Man, I've been a big fan. I've been streaming, bro, and I'm making sure I'm sending like all my friends. Yo, you gotta listen. Like I'm dead ass, bro. Like I dead ass do this. I mean, of course, I'm really big on supporting anybody, but of course, when your stuff is good,
Yeah.
I really do. I'm also, secondly, I'm proud of you. I mean, I bet people have told you, and but I'm proud of your success. I'm genuinely proud of the steps of the way and the man that you're becoming, the way that God is leading your life. I love watching your stuff on LinkedIn, and I love how you continue to put yourself out there. Your versatility, your nuance, your ability to continue to be yourself. This conversation just even enlightened me even more, and just showed how genuine you are as a human being. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time, bro, for doing this, for spreading your voice and your message, and for just being who God's created you to be, man. Like it's an honor and a privilege to sit here, chop it up with you, to support your stuff, and I know you are going to go as far as you are going to go because you have that drive, and it's just really fun, bro. It's really fun. So thank you for sharing this space and taking this opportunity to be able to do that, man. It means a lot. And I'm praying for the success for your journey, bro. For real, no cap.
Hey, likewise to you, man. You're an inspiration to everybody, man. I remember when you first started everything, I was like, this man Tanaka going places. So like the drive that you've had, the consistency that you continually do and just put out, and the energy that you put out to the world, you definitely deserve your flowers now. And then when everything is gonna be, on and popping in the future. So I know your time is coming. So I definitely appreciate the opportunity and having me on this great podcast, man.
Oh, bro, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Now, last thing, where can the people find you at? Plug your stuff, bro.
Yes, sir. So you can find me on Instagram at _Kayshon. That's _KAYSHON. I'm on every streaming platform: Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, not on SoundCloud, but anything that the major stuff. I'm on it. So give it a listen. Shoot me just follow me. It's a long journey here, but I'm excited for anyone that wants to join on the path. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you don't like it, hey, I appreciate you for listening. But hey, I feel like y'all will like it, and I appreciate everyone that hops on this journey along with me. It'll be a fun ride.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Y'all need to what? Y'all know what to do. Follow him. Follow the stuff. An amazing, dope conversation. And yeah, do the thing, y'all. Do the thing. And we are